And welcome back. As we get ready for a quick lesson today, we're going to quickly talk about something known as an input delimiter. Now, what are delimiters? Well, delimiters are actually something that's not too radical, and we've already been using them. These are simply just the characters that Java uses to identify the end of a word. By default, this is the white space character. Now, there is a little trick we can do. We can, of course, change that to a different character or a set of characters. So the way we do this is we just would create, for example, a different scanner object. So let's just say scanner kb2 equals new scanner system.in. We could then change the delimiter from, for example, our default white space character to, let's say, a double hash symbol. We could do anything that we really want to. It just would have to be something within inside of these quotations. So if we wanted this, for example, to be 1, 2, 3, I would just need to put in these quotation marks 1, 2, 3. Now, after this invocation has been done of the use delimiter, that double hash will be the delimiter instead of a white space character. So, for example, if we see 1, 2, hash, hash, 3, hash, hash, the output is going to be 1, 2, that's one word, and then 3 would be another, simply because of how this is being used. So let's jump over to our code and actually see this in use. All right, so I've gone ahead and set up a preliminary program here. You can see we have two different scanner objects here because you can, of course, create more than one scanner, just like you can have more than one variable. And if you notice, we're setting the delimiter here to the double hash. And what I want to do is enter a line of text, and then we have, of course, this little cleanup line here. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and leave this as is for a moment because this is our default, just to kind of make sure we get this kind of fresh in our mind. So if we enter a line of text, so let's just say I say 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just do that double hash right here. 5. And I'm going to do a space, hash, space, 6. And hit enter. Now you notice it goes 1, 2. Because it's only reading in here, even though I have this long line of code, it's only reading a keyboard.next. So it's only getting one word. Not a whole line, just one word. And because it's only getting one word, you'll notice we only get the words 1 and 2. All right, now, if I were to take this same input here, but let's go ahead and use this now with our delimiter. So I'm actually going to just copy this here, paste this in here. And now notice I do have this kb.next line that's not getting anything. This should help us avoid any weird kind of input errors because we had to deal with kb.next. So we're going to enter in a line of text. Same thing as before, but instead of using kb, we're going to use kb2.next. And it's going to function pretty much exactly the same, except now, when we do this, when this input happens here, what's going to happen is it's going to use this delimiter. And let's just see how this changes. Now, we may have to add some more hash marks in here. So let's go ahead and just run this real quick. So let me just do 1. I'll do hash 2, space, hash, space, 3, space, 4. And that looks good. So that is, of course, our input right there. And if I hit enter, you'll see right now it says 1 hash hash 2, and then a new line we have just the double hash because it's recognizing this as the character here. Remember, this is not a white space, so that's where it stops. Now it's telling me to re-enter line of text. Now I'm going to copy that, so I'm just going to paste that back in here. And let's just go ahead and see how this changes now because this should be with KB2. And if I press enter now, you notice I get 1 and then 2. And that's because this is now my delimiter. Same input, but because I have a different delimiter, it has changed how this functions. Now, like I said, we could make this to something else. So let's just say if I were to do the same code here, but let's just go ahead and change this, let's say from the double hash, for example, to the word 2. What would change if I changed it to the word 2? Well, if I go ahead and run my code again, I'm just going to paste that line of text in. All right. This, of course, we expected because this is just the default delimiter. But if I use this now with the new one, because I'm using the keyword 2, and I press enter in here, notice it didn't like that. All right, so this is something that you have to kind of watch out here for, because if we have random inputs in here, this can happen. So these delimiters aren't necessarily anything. So if we just change this to 1 hash now real quick and run this, all right, with the single hash, we now have just the keyword 1. So these things do, of course, get affected by what is in here. So I just want to point that out here that we can change these. This is something you probably won't run into too often, but it is something that we can use within our programming set of skills. But again, it's not going to be something that we have in an everyday occurrence, but it may be something that you end up needing to use if you're, for example, looking for changing out a certain type of input that might be in a different format.